Hello and welcome back to this episode of the Peak Results Academy. I'm your host, Rich Fournier, and in this episode, I have one of the most candid conversations I have ever had yet with a real estate agent. His name is Matthew Hockley, and according to RealTrends, Matthew was ranked number 174 in all of the USA for total individual unit sales for 2019. Now, Matthew shares his journey of overcoming true addiction, the pitfalls in this business along the way, and what the other side of getting clean really looks like as a high-producing agent. He shares the daily method of operation that allows him to run 3 incredibly successful real estate-focused businesses and how he maintains his laser focus. You don't want to miss this episode, as Matthew is one of the most transparent and successful real estate agents that I have ever met. So stay tuned. Here we go.
Have you ever wondered why some people thrive in all areas of their life? Welcome to the Peak Results Academy podcast with your host, Rich Fournier. Each week, we interview industry experts who consistently dominate in the fields of health, business, and beyond. Our mission is to share their personal struggles and strategies so that you can create your own peak results.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rich Fournier, and welcome back to this episode of the Peak Results Academy podcast. I'm super excited today to have Matthew Hockley on the show with us today. Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania is in the house.
It is, and it's bright and sunny 87 here today.
Fantastic. I think we're in metric system. I think we're different. We're 37, right? What does that even mean to me? I mean, I was really,
I don't know. I have to look it up.
Yeah, me too, even though we're here. So, listen, I'm super excited to have you on the show. This podcast is about
thank you very much.
Result. You're creating peak results. 146 transactions, individual transactions, I might add.
Right.
Not a team. That's outstanding numbers. Listen, very few people are ever going to hit those numbers. And my job is to try to figure out, because you're gracious enough, hopefully, to have this conversation about how to create these kind of results in someone's life. Why you, Matthew? Most people fail out of the industry. Why you?
I think for me, I got into real estate in 1999. Small company, just trying to work my way through. My dad was an insurance salesman. I was dead set on not getting into insurance. Every time I say that, he rolls his eyes, but I'm I've always gone against the grain. He will agree to that.
Right.
So when I first got started, I, kind of dabbled for the first year. After that, then I ended up at a Century 21 agency, and I hooked up with somebody who was selling bank-owned foreclosures.
Yep.
So from an early start, I got into the bank-owned business. So 2000, bank-owned properties were, nowadays it's a high level of competition. Back then, you could have bought amazing houses for little to, 1/3 of the price they're going for now. So I got into that, and that really helped me kind of understand what real estate was about. I didn't have to do a ton of out-of-the-box prospecting. Do you know what I mean? But as I grew more in the business and as I understood the business more, I was able to do different types of prospecting. So that's helped me, get where I am today. Now, today we run, my partner and I run 3 different companies. So I work at RE/MAX First Advantage in Mechanicsburg, just the real estate. But we also own a company called PADeals.com. And what that is that's a turnkey rental sale company. So what we do is we buy houses, we fix them up, and we sell them to people who want to be landlords, like doctors, lawyers, but they don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
So, I started with the foreclosures, and now we own PA Deals. So we run this other company. So I started in that. Now we're doing the actual buying and selling. So my real estate career has gone full circle from left to right. Learning the REO business, how that worked. I did that till 2011. And then 2011 till now, we've owned PA Deals, and we just opened up a real estate coaching business. So now we're coaching other investors how to get into real estate. So whether that be, we teach them how to wholesale, do a fix and flip, or do one of our turnkey rentals with us.
You're juggling a lot of hats. So are you doing
I'm wearing one. I got 4 more back here.
Okay, I haven't had my haircut in 4 months, so that's why they call me Slick Rick right now. Are you doing traditional prospecting? That's a lot of deals to do. I mean,
Yeah, we do. I mean, at this point for me right now, so I've been in the business for 20 years. A lot of it's word of mouth. I have people and then from the investment standpoint side, like people know that we buy houses, so people are coming to us. We do a lot of different private seller marketing, and on the real estate end of it, like people they call me, they were referred from friends, and I'm probably holding anywhere between 15 and 25 deals, 30 deals at all times that are in whether it's a turnkey rental that we're selling, a traditional sale or what have you, at all times under contract.
Under contract.
I think right now we have like 25 listings, but see, everything's selling like one day on the market.
Right. So it's hard to hold on in inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So COVID has not dramatically impacted your business.
I mean, right off the bat, it did, just because it was so new for everybody. And I think people were just nervous. So we had, like I said, about, I'd say, a handful of deals fall apart, 3 to 5. But they, again, went under contract right away. I think one house had a deal fall apart 3 times, third time or fourth time the charm, they ended up buying it. But the industry, I think the difference between now and like 2009, 2011, the big crash, was that the interest rates now. So back then, interest rates were 5 to 7%, and now they're 2.75 here.
Right. Yeah.
So I got a girl that has written a couple offers, hasn't gotten a house yet, but she's paying, on a $200,000 mortgage, $1,250, depending on taxes. So it's so much different now. I think.
And that's what's driving is low interest rates.
What's that?
That's what's driving it is low interest rates.
I think so. I think that's the reason why the real estate industry at this point in the COVID hasn't taken a plunder, because the rates are so good. And with all this other market uncertainty, everybody that can put their money that they have are putting into real estate. It's the only safe investment where you actually walk away with a tangible asset.
Yeah, I get that. Question for you. If you were to start today, Matthew, what would you do differently? I mean, would you get into foreclosure business today if you were to start brand new?
I think if I was to start today, I would probably see, the way it worked out for me is that I had always had this capacity to learn. So I would always go to the highest producer in every company that I've ever worked for, and I would go to learn from them. And as I did that, then they'd want to partner up with me because they'd see that I had this very, very high level work ethic. So I kind of just gravitated towards the most successful people, and I kind of learned everything about them and everything about what they were doing so that I can implement that onto my business. So I don't know that it would be the same. It would depend, where I started, who was there, and who I was looking to look up to as my next leader.
Why? So you would go, whatever market you're in, you would go and find someone who's producing at a level that you would want to produce at.
Correct.
The lifestyle, the type of business that you were looking to create, and do your best to get in the door and have conversations with that person. Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what I've done my whole career. I mean, from day one, I've always been a really hard worker. So like currently I wake up at 4:30 every day. I know. but there's a lot of paperwork involved in these deals. So, once my phone starts ringing around 7:30, 8 o'clock, I can't do any kind of paperwork, so 4:30, I usually go to the gym at 6. So it gives me a little bit of time to work on the paperwork. But yeah, I mean, what I did was I knew this is what I wanted to do as soon as I got into it. I could just tell, I mean, how could you not want to sell real estate? I mean, to me, it's like living the American dream. I was telling somebody the other day, I'm like, I feel like sometimes people wake up and they're like, I got to go to work today, right? That's like how people feel. Like literally every single day when I wake up, it's like the most exciting day ever, because every person you meet has their own story, right? You're helping them make the biggest investment of their entire lives, and they're relying on you for guidance. It's the most rewarding thing other than being a father that I've ever done.
And this hit you right from day one.
I mean, I liked it. Real estate was my thing. I wanted to learn everything about it. Like I said, I gravitated towards the most successful people. I wanted to be reading what they were reading. I wanted to be understanding how, at that time, I was working with a guy named Tim Straub who was doing on a team about 250 deals, and I ended up being a part of Tim's team. So my first year in real estate, real full year, I think I did 36 transactions with him.
You learned a lot.
Yeah. I learned a lot. And that was the thing. Like, so I didn't make the most money because it was never about the money for me. Like, I wanted to learn because I knew when I got my chance, I would be able to run with it. So I learned from him. And, I did 36 transactions. Then I think I did 60 the next year. And then ever since then, I've done 80 plus. I've done over 3,000 transactions in, 20 some years.
That's right. It's a lot of deals. I mean, you can't buy that kind of experience.
I mean, a lot of times I learned some stuff. You learn a lot of stuff on your own sometimes, but nobody can teach you.
Oh no, you learn by, my biggest mistakes. I've learned a ton. Know what not to do ever again. Right? Won't ever do that again. So listen, here's the deal. So like, you have systems and processes. Like, you get up in the morning at 4:30, you go to the gym at 6, you start working. You have so many different things you got to do in a given day. Like, do you spend a part of your day really focus on generating future business on whatever capacity you do? And what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So I feel like real estate business, I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm in real estate, I can kind of do whatever I want. I've always lived my life and I've always run this business by a schedule. So I wake up at the same time every day. Right. And, whether it's a Saturday or Sunday, I wake up at 4:30 every single day and I just do my thing. Right. So 4:30 to 5:30, I usually just relax for a couple, do some paperwork, relax. Then I usually go to the gym. But so we do a lot of marketing. I do a lot of Facebook marketing. Okay. And like I said, a lot of it's word of mouth. Like, we live in a smaller town. So a lot of people, know each other. So I actually have other agents that call me at different times and say, hey, do you want to buy this house? Or, hey, this isn't really what I want, but I think that you could really help this person. So I've gravitated from, being the newbie in the business to 20 years later being someone that people come to either for advice or like if they're not interested in taking that listing or even to help them with that.
Yep.
So I think that helps. I mean, as far as systems and processes go, and we have a lot of systems in place as far as like how we get people from the day one once you meet them, the day one pre-approval into looking at homes, how we do contracts. I mean, I think this whole business is about expectations. You will have happy clients every day for the rest of your life if you set them up with the right expectations, especially now when contracts and houses are selling for several $1,000s over asking price here. I don't know what it's like there, but here, I mean, if it's 15,000 plus, that's probably on the low side. There was a house the other day that 25 offers, $66,000 over asking.
Yeah, we've seen. I mean, at our peak, I saw one had 75 offers.
Is that crazy?
Right? How do you deal with that?
Well, so I just think your buyers have to have, and your sellers have to have an expectation. For your buyers, they have to understand that you are only able to offer a certain amount. So whatever your max dollar amount is, you have to say, if you're not willing to go past that and somebody else does, you're okay with that and you'll move on to the next property. I think what happens a lot of times is that the agents that I've come across sometimes that have had issues are afraid to tell people things they don't want to hear. I always start out with like the no's. These are the worst things that could happen to you, and anything after this is going to be a bonus. So people know. It just lowers their expectation of what could actually happen. And then when they do get that house or they sell that house, they're ecstatic. Just like the person that takes, 75 offers. I mean, the chances of that appraising are probably slim to none unless the person's paying cash. So you have to let that person know, like, any dollar that you get over asking is $1 more than you would ever ask for.
Right.
But if you don't tell them that, then people at the end of the day, they're like, well, it sold for $280. I want $280, but it was listed for $260.
Right.
So I think expectations is the one of the biggest things.
What's your average resale price then?
So it's probably about $160, $170.
$160, $170. When you look at so here we probably are, in Central Ontario down. We're probably at around the 60,000 agent count.
Okay.
60,000 agents, competing. Wow. That is a lot of agents. Yeah.
15,000 right here greater Harrisburg area, I think.
And how many transactions would occur in greater Harris area?
Well, it's down. So I'm guessing probably, I think they're averaging probably about 12 to 20 some thousand.
Right. Okay. So that's the competition is actually quite fierce.
It is.
Yeah.
So
think of it. I think the average, we're around, was it 3 or 4 deals per agent on average, which is not true. I mean, with 25% of the agents that do 0 deals a year, right? So why you? I'm still trying to, in my mind.
My hometown, like, if you go off these rankings that they put out, like in my hometown, I was like number 6, right, in all of Pennsylvania. But there were people on there from like that own auction companies. But I was like probably the number 1 real estate, like door-to-door agent,
right?
Aside from like these other people that do like different things. And here in Harrisburg, do you know what I mean?
Right. So I did an interview with an agent who was number 6 for a particular company in a particular state.
I saw that.
And but he's doing $10,000 properties.
Right.
Right. He doesn't even see the property. He just does transaction, does some paperwork, and so that's not the same resale. Resale's different.
He like works for an auction company or something, right?
He's in the land business in Florida, actually.
Yeah.
So it's a different business model, and I look at. So I'm always intrigued with someone who is in the residential resale market who's doing high volume, because that requires someone who has a handle on not only the nuance of the deal, the data, but the marketing, the branding, the lead generation, the follow-up, the really cultivating a relationship to make that happen, and then the nuances of the deal and trying to juggle all of this stuff. It's an MBA in business, man. It's a PhD in business, and no one can tell me otherwise. Anyone who's producing at that level, they are so crammed full. They got to get up in the morning. They got to let's look at what somebody does. So you got to generate leads. You got to generate relationships. That person may do a deal once every 7 years. How many relationships do I got to cultivate on a daily basis about buying or selling a piece of property? And then the nuances of showing properties, listing appointments, doing deals, doing measurements, deals going south, people threatening lawsuits, blah, 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 blah. Right? And then all of a sudden I got to get home to my family. It's a crazy business.
Definitely. There's not a lot of extra time.
Right. So when I look at someone who has the mental capacity to create that kind of volume, it's interesting.
A lot of it for me has to do with like, I developed this niche, when you're also buying and selling them, and you have several different, so it's not just showing buyers, listing houses. It's then on top of that, it's buying them, fixing them up, renovating them, selling them to another buyer. You know what I mean? Or buying them, a turnkey buyer, or selling them to a homeowner. So like I said, we have 3 different levels of the business, and, I just try. I mean, I'm also the project manager. So there's a lot going on here.
So the average resale price, and I'm thinking ahead of, the future of our 2, pretty cool countries. Our average resale is probably over $1 million.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang. I'm moving to Canada.
Yeah, but competition's crazy, right? Like it's insane, right? So when I look at people investing into the U.S. from Canada, even with the exchange rate, you're buying $150,000, $180,000 properties and they're cash flowing.
Right. So think about it like this.
So like talk about like, sorry, this really isn't the future of the podcast, the content, but like there's crazy opportunity.
Well, so what happens here is, Harrisburg's the capital of the state, right? So the surrounding states, Delaware, New Jersey, Brooklyn, New York, Maryland, sold houses to people in Florida, California. So what happens is people come to Pennsylvania to buy residential rental real estate. I sold one guy in New Jersey, 23 houses. I sold a doctor in Erie. Our company sold 13 houses in one time. One deal, like 13 houses. So that's what it really happens. I mean, it's crazy. But people come here just for that specific reason. I sold another guy in Carlisle locally here about 13 houses.
Right.
So we're buying them. Well, we'll buy them for say 50, 60, 70,000, and we'll sell them on an A-class turnkey rental for 145,000.
Cash flowing?
The investor's cash flowing for about $250, $300 a month.
Positive.
Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, if you're in New York, you can't buy a house for less than 350, 400,000.
Well, here, I mean, we have little townhouses going for 500,000. 1,100 square feet.
Jeez.
Right? So it's a different commodity here, and so one is a lack of inventory. Two, migration, immigration is huge here, and I think that to be competitive in this marketplace, you got to be. Some people say you got to niche it out, but we have straight, plain, vanilla real estate here. So you buy, sell. There's no REOs. There's no bank foreclosures. It's like if someone loses their house, I mean, that's 0.03% of the market. There is no market there.
Right.
So here it's all about how many people do I communicate with on a daily basis? And do you generate business from Facebook and social media? Is that part of it?
Yeah. So on average, we do about, I spend probably about $2,000 a month just on Facebook advertising,
Okay.
which generates, it just depends. I mean, like sometimes we get tens of thousands of leads.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a funnel right now going that's got 800 leads in it that we're constantly cultivating. Doesn't sound like a lot, but those are warm touches.
Right.
So, I mean, and it's weird. Like I said, I could, just depending on how everything's going, like I could wake up today and make it my goal to go out and buy 5 houses, right? Which is going to end up being 10 for me. You know what I mean? And that could happen. Like used to do that all the time. My partner would give me a challenge. He'd be like, you need to buy 10 houses this week. And we go out and do it.
So do you think that perhaps agents are just not, maybe are they focusing on the wrong thing, right? So everyone focuses, you just made a really interesting point, and I want to get to that because we teach people, coach, the industry itself, go prospect, go prospect and lead gen. But no one says go buy a house or sell a house today.
Right. So I think what happens is, like, traditionally, that's what everybody tells everyone to do. Start your farm, prospect the expireds, prospect the FSBOs. So everybody's doing that, right? So about, I don't know, for me, 8-9 years ago, when the market was changing and I decided I wanted to get out of the REO aspect of it, this is what the opportunity that I was given. And you're writing your own check. I mean, like, so it's your time, your effort, your energy, right? But you're putting it into something that you're totally in control of. So if I am prospecting the same list as you, then we're competing, right? So I am going to open up my own list that's over here, right? Where there's competition here, right? There's other companies in the area that do what we do, but they just don't, they're in York, or they're not really right here. So, I mean, for lack of a better word, we're the only competition. We're our own competition. Like, if we don't get that deal down the street, it's only because, we didn't mail them, or we didn't call them, or it wasn't part of the marketing that we did. But when I get face to face with somebody, I'm closing that deal. No questions asked.
Were you always this competitive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It all started because I used to work for somebody, and they said that you'll never beat me. And in the back of my mind, I was like, maybe not today, but there's going to be some day that I'm going to beat you. And I just always thought about that. Why would somebody say that to me, right? Why would someone say that to you? And ever since, that was just one other thing that always stuck in the back of my mind. And I just think I just have a natural drive to be the best. Like I said, like, I've always wanted to be whatever I was doing, whether it would be selling REO properties or this, I always wanted to just be the best, or at least give myself a chance to be the best. And if that meant I had to wake up longer than you, and I had to take on more than you, or I had to stay up later than you, then I was willing to do that. I mean, I remember I used to wake up back in the day, and I had to do BPOs. So they were due before midnight. I'd go to bed from like 8 to 10, and then I'd do them. I'd wake up at 10 and have them in by 12. Just whatever it took. I didn't care,
When you when you look at our industry today and creating a team or creating these kind of peak results in this business, you seem to have a sense of peace about what you do. Do you get distracted by other opportunities, or are you super focused on a goal?
So right now I'm super focused.
Are you getting pitched every day for an MLM? Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe look at that. Or are you like, you're always focused in on what you want?
So I feel like right now I've for the last several years just been laser focused, and I do get pitched for stuff all the time, and I'm just not interested because I honestly don't have time. So for me, like, this is what I want to do, and I want to do it this way. I mean, I've gotten pitched to work for other companies. I've gotten pitched to do this, do that, come work here. We'll give you this. And I'm not interested in that. I was always interested in being the best in my business, in my area. And that's what I'm really striving for. So like I said about the whole like prospecting thing, like, I don't know that I've ever done anything traditionally, right? I just never have. So for me, like, I just created my own bubble, right? And now it's just a rat race. I'm chasing myself.
Makes a lot of sense to me. If someone were to, and this is a really weird question, okay? Like, but think of it in the value, like the advice you're going to give, maybe 1%, maybe 1% may act on it. Maybe. If you were to tell someone else how to beat you, what do they have to do?
They'd have to out-hustle me for sure.
Right. Okay. That's number one. So you have to outwork you. And what does outwork you look like from a practical daily method of operation?
That means that somebody literally from 4:30 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night has to be willing to go 100%, 120% all out. I mean, yesterday, for example, I woke up at 4:30. I went to the gym from 6 to 7. I had an 8, a 9, a 10, 11, a 12, a 1, a 3 o'clock settlement. And then I had another appointment at 5, right? And then we had a walkthrough at 6. So I literally and that was in 3 different counties and probably about, 350 miles worth of driving. Not to mention right now we have probably about 30 different properties under construction that we bought that we're fixing up and selling that I'm also managing.
I think you're putting it in context. I don't work hard enough.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
No, seriously. Like you think of it and you think, all right, are you willing to go? Okay. So what I'm trying to pull from you and people like you is that you're in the game. Like there's a concept called be, do, have. So you made a decision to be this person. And that being that person means you're in. You're not distracted. You're not thinking of other opportunities. You're focused on what you want to do, and you are totally at ease with what you do.
My wife tells me this is all I care about sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not, but I mean, I do this because it's what I love to do. I just love it. I'm very blessed. So for me, my life changed about, 7 years ago. I used to be addicted to drugs and alcohol. So not that I wasn't doing good business, because I still do good business, right? I would do okay. But I just always kept getting kicked in the ass. I would just, one mistake after another. And it was just 19 years I was addicted to drugs and alcohol, right? But I was still doing a tremendous amount of real estate business. So I got sober in February of 2000. Say that again?
You were functional.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you'd go home and drink your face off, whatever.
Correct.
End of the day, right? 4 o'clock on, 5 o'clock on.
Depends, sometimes noon, but it was bad.
Okay, so a lot of producers don't share their pain. And this is what people need to hear, by the way.
Yeah. So I say, if I was to open the whole book, that's the book. The book starts with the fact that I was a really good real estate agent, right? And I was always really hungry and I was always really driven, right? But I could never get above here. I get to here, something would happen, I'd be back down here. I get to here, something would happen, I'd be back down here. You know what I mean? I wasn't making continuously good decisions. So when I got sober in February of 2014, I had this like newfound like love of life, right? I just felt like I started with this clean slate, right? Whatever happened was behind me. And I was able to really write my own ticket about what I wanted to do. And so as I started making amends and as I started to work my way back into what I was really, really good at, and I continued, like I said at the beginning, to link up with the right people that had the right drive to keep me motivated and to challenge me and give me more opportunities, I was able to then rebrand myself, doing what I'm doing now, which is buying, fixing up, and selling houses, selling traditional real estate, and being like the go-to guy in this area for investments and things like that.
If you don't mind me asking this question, because listen, I bet you there are so many people listening to this right now who are battling something. How did you make the decision to change?
So I'll break it down. Something happened. I won't say what, but something happened at home with my daughter. And, I went home the next day and I got served these papers and they took my kids away from me. And at that point in time, I thought to myself, I can't do this anymore, right? I was just reckless. There was no money, no sale or anything that was ever going to change my position on life right then, right? So I checked myself into drug and alcohol rehab myself. I didn't, crazy thing, but I didn't even drive. I lost my license. And so I was walking. I had to walk back and forth to this rehab facility that was like a mile from my house 3 days a week. I checked myself in, and this counselor, I connected with him. There was just something about him. He actually just recently passed away, but I just connected with him. And so like for the first time, because it wasn't my parents saying to me, you should stop doing, this, and you should stop doing that. It wasn't somebody telling me that I should stop doing what I was doing. It was somebody who had the same experience that I had, right? Had done the same things as I had, that was saying to me, if you do this, this, and this, and if you put this in front of this, and you listen to what I have to say and the other people that are in the room with you, you have a different makeup, right? So I have an addictive personality, right? So now I'm probably addicted to working, right? And selling houses. But, so I have addictive personality. So I had to realize that to be able to change my life. So I started with a clean slate. I identified with what he was able to tell me. And I just remember him telling me that, I thought my life was over, right? That it wasn't. And so what happened to me was actually like the coolest thing ever. I would start going through things on a daily basis that I used to drink through. You know what I mean? So like I'd have a tough day at work. I would go hang out at the bar with my friends and I would drink till, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. And then I'd wake up and do it all over again. And so I wasn't doing that now. So I was all alone because like he told me the first day I went there, like those people aren't your friends. Well, I was wrong. He was right, which kind of went through everything else in my life. You know what I mean? I was usually wrong, but everybody else was right. But that's what really happened. I mean, that's what happened though. And I had a lot of time to think through it. And I trusted him. I didn't even know him, but I trusted him because he had fallen on his face. He had gotten sober a long time ago. And now he had gone to college. Now he was sitting in front of me in a room of people I didn't know. We were sharing our experiences and he was now teaching, at this facility. And I think it just changed my life and my perspective on what was acceptable, what I would. So before I would just accept whatever happened, right? And now I made this decision that I was going to be sober, right? And people were going to have to accept me for being who I was, being sober, and that I was going to change my life. And if they didn't like that, then I was not going to, there was no wavering from me. It was black or white. Either I was going to, one of the other things that happened is when you're in real estate, it's a social business, right? All these social gatherings. And one of the first things he taught me is that when you get there, if you want to go to a social gathering, right, where people are going to be drinking, you have to have an exit strategy. So you want to drive yourself, you want to go at a certain time, and you want to leave at a certain time. And you don't stay any longer than that. There's no deviation. So that was probably one of the first things I did to really angle myself away from that. And once I did, and I started doing things that I never did sober before. It started every day. I get one step better. You know what I mean? So then, like, you know, things would happen in real estate, and instead of going and drinking through them, I would just deal with it.
And what happened to your game when you stopped?
So when I stopped, I had no game at first. I was like, you know, kind of all over the place because I was really focused. You know what I mean? Like, all I cared about then was real estate. So when I stopped, I didn't really have a game, right? I let it all go.
Right.
I didn't have a choice. I had made a mistake, and that was the end of that game, right? And I was like, well, maybe this isn't going to be my game. And then I got an opportunity from a local broker, Steve Thompson. And I, you know, slowly but surely, maybe in 2011, I did like, you know, 50 deals, then 80, then, you know, every year it got more and more. So what happened was when I got kicked really hard, right, I rebounded, right? And I did those 40 deals. Then after that, I set my next goal. I did 80. And then ever since then, I've done over 100. It just has I just have like a new, like, release on life. Like, my viewpoint of how things happen, like my wife always tells me, she's like, "Matt, nothing bothers you." Because to me, like, whatever's going on, right? I mean, my life used to be really bad when I was drinking, using drugs, right? And now, like, there's just nothing that I haven't dealt with. So, like, it's not a big deal. Like, the real estate part of it, you know, deals come, they go, they fall apart. That's part of life, right? Friends, they come, they go. That's part of life. People back into your car. That's part of life. I mean, I'm already on to the next thing. I'm just not focusing on anything negative, you know? So it's really helped me because there was this mouse in our house the other day. I think she like starts screaming. I like bent down, cupped it in a cup. She's like, "How do you do that?" Like, yeah, it didn't even bother you, you know, little stuff, but nothing bothers me. So it enables me to have a level head and a level thinking and always be at the top of my game, mentally, physically, no emotion.
Not drinking anymore, like that, right? And societal wise, it seems like that's so accepted. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have a drink after work. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna have a bottle of wine while I'm making dinner. Oh wait, that's 3 bottles of wine. Right. That seems to be a much more common than people talk about.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, who knows? I just know that like Gerald used to tell me, he's like, "Matt, you're not a social drinker." He's like, "You can't go to the bar and have 2 or 3 beers with your friends." I'd be like, "I know. Why would you do that?" That was my mentality. Like, I was a mess.
Yeah, I think I can understand that, actually. And now that you're clear, the level of performance is through the roof.
It is. And
so
I mean,
you made a decision though after that. So you made a decision on that was it. I had to change. But then even after you change, you still have to make another decision to be in the game of real estate.
Yeah. And I mean, there were people at that time that, you know, weren't really happy with me. You know, I had burned some bridges. I made some, you know, poor decisions, and I'd said some things I probably shouldn't have said, of course, you know. Yeah. And so it took a while, but, you know, what changed my life one more step than that was I go to AA. So I walked into a room and I saw someone I never thought I would see there, and they accepted me back into their life. So for me, it was like I was born again. And that was like at the very beginning, like, you know, so probably like within the first year, I was, you know, my counselor was like, "You need to start going to AA." I'm like, "Cool, no problem." So I would go every day from 7 to 8. And the first day I remember going in, I'm like, "Ah, shit." I look across the table and there's this guy. And I'm like, "Oh, shit." But he immediately accepted me. So like, that changed my life, that my viewpoint. Do you know what I mean? Like, I knew at that point that I was going to be okay. As long as I would continue to do the right thing, I was going to be okay. As long as I would continue to not be drinking, I was going to be okay. And I just leave it all up to God. Like, for me, like, I always say to people, you know, there's nothing possible that could happen today that would be worse than any day that I've ever been that I was drunk. You know, it's like any day sober to me is better than any, it couldn't be any worse than that. So any day sober is better than any day that I could have ever had drunk before. That's really just how I live my life.
Outstanding. And now you're one of the top agents in the country.
I know, right? It's not crazy.
I love it, man. It's a great story. I'd love to drill down into the craziness of it all, but this is not the platform for it. But I appreciate you sharing that, because you have no idea that somebody you're going to impact, that you can change your life and perform at a different level and actually love your life again. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a blessing for sure. I mean, we've been doing some coaching events. We just started about 2 years ago. We opened up a company called Invest in PA where we coach local investors. And I basically told my story. And I had numerous people come up to me afterwards, numerous. And it really changed the game for us, because it made, when you stand up in the front of the room and you tell people, like, this is what we do. This is why you should invest with us, and this is what you'll get, right? That sounds great. But when you stand up in front of a room of people and you're vulnerable and you tell them what you're really about, then people gravitate towards you, which is exactly why my real estate business has continued to grow. I mean, people want to gravitate towards me.
You're human.
I know, right?
It's crazy. I get that. I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing the story. I appreciate you sharing your journey. I appreciate you giving of your time. If anyone wants to reach out to you today to, maybe they want to chat about their own problem now. Maybe
Sure.
that for someone else, or maybe they want to invest in Pennsylvania real estate. What's the best way to reach you?
They can reach me at 717-350-0136. That's my cell phone. Or my email is Hockley, Hockley, the number 21 @gmail.com.
Thanks again.
All available. Anybody wants to talk to me, I'm here.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate you spending some time with our audience today.
Yep. I appreciate you for the opportunity.
Thanks, my friend.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you've heard and you're interested in seeing if you are fit to work with Peak Results Academy, here's what I want you to do next. Head over to peakresultsacademy.com/call. That's peakresultsacademy.com/call and book an appointment to speak with our team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 45 minutes and get you crystal clear on 3 things. Number 1, what do you really want out of life and your business? Number 2, what is not working for you today? And number 3, the exact strategy you should be using to create massive change in these areas. Remember, changing your life and creating massive results does not happen by itself. You need expert guidance to make it happen. We're helping clients all over the world create peak results in their health, in their businesses, and in their personal lives. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to peakresultsacademy.com/call. We'll chat soon.